Mythical West Africa, we black out to realize dreams.
Ile Ife, the center of divinity, is dubbed the ancestral home of the Orisha. It was home to one of the four bearers of life, Oduduwa. The sunrise coated the town with a glow worthy of its divine heritage. The streets were unusually empty, and the silence at the King's Market was deafening. The town still mourned the passing of Orunmila, an Orisha Agba whose influence in the Yoruba lands was second to none. Like a nightmare, the indigenes of this historic town woke up to the sad news a week ago. Tales of his heroic deeds while they slumbered weighed heavily on them. The sunrise was a testament to his sacrifice. For some, Orunmila's death was only a drop in the ocean of pain as the Benin War preceded his passing. Toby was such a person. He laid his head on the side of the mat on which his brother slept unconsciously, his body lying on the floor below the bamboo mat frame. He raised his head with drowsy eyes to a resounding cock crow. His brother had been unconscious for a week. The healers at the Great Ifa Temple, beneath the giant divine tree of 16 branches symbolizing the 16 principles of Ifa, were unsure whether he would wake from his long slumber. He looked at his brother's still body and dropped his head in disappointment. His mother begged him to come home, but he would not leave his brother's side. His spirit was raised by the call of his name. "Toby," Dami said in a low voice. He lifted his head with great enthusiasm. "Brother!" Toby screamed. He sprang up and dashed out through the door with such youthful energy one would expect from a 17-year-old. The clattering beads of the door curtain mirrored his excitement in his wake. Toby dashed through many corridors and stairs, bumping into Awos and Babalawos along the way. He rushed upwards through the Ifa citadel till he reached the exit of the cave beneath the great divination tree. He looked like a small insect beside the tree's protruding roots. He turned his head left and right as if he was looking for something he had lost desperately. "Up the tree," he said to himself while looking up with the morning brightness interfering with his sight. He rushed up the stairs around the massive trees which housed a great Ifa community. Each branch of the tree carried many houses. The stairs were sophisticated, and several wooden floors and pathways connected different sides of the tree. He kept advancing upwards, panting all the way. "As sad as we are, the seat of Babalawo Arun is empty. It is important that it be filled given the passing of your great father and our mentor, Orunmila, Ifakanmi," one of the senior Ifa priests referred to as Agba Babalawo, said. "It is too early for such a thought, my friend," Ifa Yemi responded while leaning on a wooden rail on a floor fixed to the stem of the divination tree. Their white garments resonated with the morning brightness. "Besides, there are others suited for the role, like my sister Ifa Kami," he continued. "But one must possess the strength to use the first principle of Ifa. Only you can use it now that your father has passed," Adefa, another senior priest, mentioned. "Do not equate me with my father," Ifa Yemi said in a slightly strong tone, turning to face Adefa. The priests fell silent for a moment. "Besides, I cannot use it through my strength like he can," Ifa Yemi said in a softer tone. "Eborn, senior brother, Ifa Yemi," someone called. Ifa Yemi looked around to see Toby rushing towards him with joy on his face. "Do not run carelessly at this height, Toby," Ifa Yemi cautioned. "Apologies, Eborn," he said while trying to catch his breath. "My brother is awake," he said with a big grin on his face. Ifa Yemi's face lit up with joy. "Come. Let's go to him," Ifa Yemi said. They rushed down the stairs and made it to Dami's room as quickly as they could. Dami sat upright on the bamboo frame. His chest and midsection were covered with bandages. His hair was thick and bushy. Ifa Yemi and Toby barged into the room. Toby ran to hug his brother, wrapping his arm around his midsection. "Gently, Toby," Dami said. "Sorry, brother," Toby responded, withdrawing a bit. Tears started rolling down his eyes. "I thought I lost you," Toby said, sobbing. "Who would make sure you don't get in trouble?" "No way I'm leaving you alone with mother," Dami said. Toby smiled underneath his tears. "Good to see you are up, my friend. You scared a lot of us," Ifa Yemi said to him. "Thanks to you and the Ifa priests, I'm sure," Dami responded. "How did the war go?" Dami asked. Ifa Yemi was silent for a few seconds. "Please excuse us for a while, Toby," Ifa Yemi said with a pat on Toby's shoulder, who obliged. Ifeyemi narrated all that transpired after Dami fell during the War of Benin. The hand of Olodumare was victorious but at a great cost, the near extermination of the Esho, the deaths of Amadioha and Oya. But their woes did not end after the battle ended. The darkest night since the rise of the four bearers ages ago befell them. The hand of Olodumare referred to it as the Black Night. It was the greatest threat their generation had faced, and it happened on the eve of the Benin War. It cost them the life of Orunmila to see the light of a new day. The disappearance of Rana, one of the 8 and most powerful Orisa Agba, was also linked to the same event. It was too much for Dami to take in at once. "I slumbered while all these happened," he said with much disappointment in himself. "Do not be hard on yourself, my friend. You played a vital role in our victory at Benin. It was the will of Olodumare that it happened so," Ifeyemi said in a bid to console him. However, it wasn't working given the high expectations Dami placed on himself. He was a prime messenger of Olodumare, and in their direst moment, he was not strong enough to aid their cause. Dami was quiet for a while. "I need to rest," he said, breaking his silence and lying on the mat. "Certainly, my friend, certainly. I hope to see you fully recovered soon," Ifeyemi said before walking out of the room. Dami pondered deeply. He felt useless. His hard work and prowess with the sword earned him the title of Balogun Otubu, a warrior of Ijebu Ode feared across the divine kingdoms. He became the deadliest member of an elite group known as Hermi Ida, Spirit of the Sword. When it came to wielding a blade, none could rival him. But his swordplay could only take him so far in a world of Orisa, powerful Ifa priests, Oruka Ifihorn, Rings of Revelation, higher darklings, and cosmic enemies. He wielded a powerful sword forged by Ogun as an acknowledgement of his strength, and he was called to the greatest honor amongst the divine kingdoms, a messenger of the hand of Olodumare. He rose to the rank of a prime messenger with his swordplay alone. He was an Awo at a younger age, but his talent with Archer was considered weak. He picked up the blade and became who he was today. He gnashed his teeth as he lay on the mat. His battle with Dorothea, who wielded a pinch of Okukun's strength, was a disgrace to him. Although he defeated his enemy, he barely survived. He needed to improve, he needed to be stronger. He only knew the way of the blade, and no one could improve his skill in that regard, no one but himself. He believed he still had much room for improvement. A thought crossed his mind: how could he face himself? Constant life and death battles with himself would greatly improve his skills. An idea came to his mind. He remembered a forbidden curse Babalawos used to turn a person against him or herself. They could be killed by their own shadow. It entailed using the dark side of Archer, similar to Okukun's manipulation, and was banned by Orunmila. It was rumored to have been modified in the past for those who wished to fight themselves, but only a powerful Ifa priest skilled in Archer creation could pull off such a feat. None of the Ifa priests at the temple citadel would attempt it, given their devotion and fellowship to Ipa owner Orunmila, the path of Orunmila. The Ifa religion was regulated by Ibimor Ifa, of which Orunmila sat at the head of the organization as Babalawo Arun. Other Ifa priests outside this fellowship were tied to Ebehokukun, the direct enemies of the hand of Olodumare. But there was one said to have rivaled Orunmila's strength in his heyday. He was an Agba Babalawo that stood above all others but the Babalawo Arun. The citadel's library was named after him, Ifasha Yibi Oku. He left Igbomi Ifa many years ago after losing his only son in battle and vanished. The hand of Olodumare and Igbomi Ifa kept track of him for a while to ensure that he did not fall to a dark path given his strength, but they lost him at some point. His last sighting was at Orta in the Awari kingdom. If anyone could do what he wanted, it had to be him. A fire lit up in his heart. He had to get stronger, and he was going to. Toby ran off to Ifeyemi a second time. "Eborn, my brother is leaving," he said, barging into his lair in the citadel. Ifeyemi paused his meditation with his eyes wide open. He stood from his crouching position. "Take me to him," he said to Toby. Dami fastened his sword to his saddle. He wore dark shokoto as a symbol of his heavy heart owing to Orunmila's death. The bandages around his chest and abdomen were so fastened to his body that you could see the shape of his abs and muscles through them. He was getting ready to mount his white horse when Toby called out, "Brother, wait," he yelled while rushing to his side. Ifeyemi was not far behind him. "Where are you off to, my friend?" Ifeyemi asked. "I'm heading home. You have done enough for me. I shall tend to my wounds when I get to Ijebu Ode," Dami responded. "It's best you recover fully before setting off lest you worsen your condition," Ifeyemi tried to convince him. "I have made up my mind. It's best I leave as soon as possible. I have matters to tend to," Dami insisted. Very well, Ifeyemi said in his usual speech pattern. "At least let me teleport you home," Ifeyemi offered. "Thank you, friend. But I wish to take the long route," Dami responded. "Let me follow you, brother," Toby offered. "No, the Agba Babalawo will teleport you home," Dami said to him. Very well. Take this medicine for your travels," Ifeyemi said, handing him a gourd filled with medicine which Dami collected with thanks. "Farewell, my friend, farewell," Ifeyemi said. Dami rode off into the woods, to the dismay of Toby, who received a consoling rub on his head from Ifeyemi. Dami rode day and night with little rest. He galloped through thick forests, high and low terrains, and shallow streams till he reached the outskirts of Isheri. He started feeling nauseous and dizzy. Sweat dripped down his cheek. He reached for the gourd Ifeyemi gave him to take some medicine. The journey was taking a toll on his condition. He searched around his saddle but he could not find it. It must have dropped somewhere along his journey. He wiped the sweat off his face, riding slowly as his vision began to fade. He fell off his horse close to a large maize field and lost consciousness. To be continued.